You mentioned something about sort of stumbling blocks that you see frequently in women who are autistic. I was curious about that.
Yes. So autism and autistic traits and, the broader autism sort of phenotype is really underdiagnosed and underrecognized in girls and women. And it's not exactly clear why that is, but a lot of it is due to sort of female socialization, which really prioritizes attending to other people's feeling states and being more facilitative. But also, very often in childhood, it's not sort of noticed because girls and women might have the sort of restrictive and repetitive interests that are more female coded.
Taylor Swift and horses.
Right. And so it might not be parts of things like it tends to be sometimes for boys. And it might not be, something that stands out as unusual in a way, but the intensity of the interest and the repetitive sort of stuff is there. And so often you have, and a lot of this is to do with sort of women in the workplace and how women are treated differently in the workplace. And particularly, I work with people who are in very male dominated environments. So a lot of scientists, a lot of people in tech. And what will sometimes happen for sort of autistic women is there will be this feeling of I am being expected to do a lot of emotional labor for people. And that's really, really hard for me. And I don't know why. And I don't want to do it. And I feel like that makes me sort of like a bad woman, a bad colleague. So it's this kind of interaction of the expectations of women in the workplace and a lifetime of, often completely unconscious masking on the part of autistic women. And I think I've just lost my train of thought. What was I going with that? Oh yes. And other things like, the expectations on women, particularly to sort of take the lead on social things, to be more sort of gracious and more of a sort of host role when you're doing sort of, dinners or seminars or things like that, can be very, very difficult, sort of on autistic women, particularly, who can sort of feel like there's something wrong with me, that I need a lot of downtime after this. There's something wrong with me, that this isn't coming naturally to me and I don't want to do it. I think also there is more of a tendency, this is just anecdotal, among autistic women I work with to be very permeable to other people's emotional states. And you get this with some autistic men, but mainly the difficulties for autistic men are in sort of not picking up cues or not sort of, and that creates some sort of relational difficulties. But for autistic women, it's very often being overwhelmed by someone else's feeling state, not being able to re-regulate after someone has been robust with you in a meeting. And there is lots of terrible behavior in meetings, and lots of aggression, I think, and lots of really competitive, really, as Mark Zuckerberg might call it, masculine energy that goes on in meetings. And I think, right? It's like going backwards 100 years. But for autistic women, I think it's particularly difficult to turn that around and go, well, he was an asshole. That was not a me problem. And to let go of it. It becomes, particularly with that whole relational history of I'm not really good at this with people. Have I done something wrong? Was it something, did I invite this?
Right.
And it's very difficult to let go of.